Okay, I want to play this man's video. His channel name is The Better Bachelor. Now, this is a white guy. He's clearly Manosphere by his talking points. But let's play it, and I want you to hear, and I want to break down some of the things that he's saying. Because I don't think people are very aware, especially men, why a lot of things they complain about, they instigated, they started. It is hereditary, meaning it is passed down generational from what they witnessed, and they think that it's okay. But let me start. Okay.
Guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. My name is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. Well, they've done it. Women have finally done it. They've taken away the very last reason to marry them, as if there was one last one. Women have gotten so selfish now that they literally do not want to live with their husbands or be around their husbands, but they do want to be married to them. Why? Well, because they want access to the resources, but also they want men to leave them the hell alone. if this
Okay, so why wouldn't a woman want the resources that the institution that men, the patriarchy created? Why would she not want those benefits when, um, if she doesn't marry a man, basically the way the system is set up, women, it's changing now, but in the days, um, like maybe 3 4 decades ago, women couldn't support themselves. They had to rely on their husband's resources. It didn't matter how abusive their husband was. It didn't matter how, if their husbands cheated on them, brought home venereal diseases to them. They had to stick with their husbands, okay? And so he's pissed off. This white man is pissed off that these women are choosing not to be in a physical relationship in the same house with him. Okay, let's continue.
if this isn't just peak narcissism, modern women, I don't know what is. We'll jump right into the story here. Married couples are living apart together, but is it the win-win strategy media says it does? Oh, media, please go with this. Please convince all these men, all these women that this is a great idea, so men can finally say, you've taken away the last reason I would ever even be with you. When guys get married, it's not because women are great at doing the dishes and cooking and keeping a clean home. That's how it used to be, raise the children, be a stay-at-home mom. No, women don't want to do that anymore. They want to be men's equals. They want to work all the time. Speaking of which, the working all the time, I actually have a video I'm going to do next, the wage gap, except now women are making more than men. But we'll get to that one. I'll record.
That's incorrect, because the system structure, the patriarchal system structure, even though women are gaining strides for self-reliance in the system still is leaning towards the patriarchy. So the men still make more money than women. There is still a big, huge wage gap when it comes to women. And it also shows itself in Social Security when women have worked their whole lives and they are at the age to receive Social Security. They're in no way, shape, or form matching their male counterpart when it comes to Social Security. What else did I want to say? When it comes to women working and being self-reliant, men have caused this. Men have made it to where women who were in marriages, maybe they were being abused and even abused in front of their children. They made it so these women had to get out into the workforce. And then thus their daughters, who are younger than my age or my age, have witnessed this from their mothers and know that they can't really rely on men. That men walk out the door in relationships. Whole families have been left with women and children where the women, mainly white women, because that's where the welfare system was set up for. It was set up for white women, and these white women had to go to the government and ask for assistance because these men walked out on them. And he's wondering why these women are out in the workforce. Well, that's one reason. Let's continue.
After this one, women want now to be married to men and have access to their resources, get paid extra money when they leave and get divorced, but they don't ever want to actually deal with a husband. This is like prostitution, but with a lot of extra steps and a payout clause on the back end for the woman. From Fox News, married couples are living apart together, but is it the win-win?
He mentioned something about prostitution, but a lot of the marriage in the past, women were treated just like that. Men didn't care whether she was sexually satisfied by him. They didn't care. Men didn't care whether she was a happy, content wife, and that he was giving emotional support. Um, he didn't care back then. Men are starting to wake up. They're starting to see that women need just as much emotional care and emotional support and sexual satisfaction as men do. But back then, men didn't care. They basically, dumped on women and went about their business. They didn't care whether the woman was, enjoyed any sex with them or not. They just jumped on top of a woman, did what they wanted to do, and then got back off, and then went and did and went golfing and had fun and did whatever they wanted to do. But these men are complaining now when women want to have a very whole life and satisfaction and joy in their life. So apparently that's a sin for women to these men.
Strategy Media says it does. A number growing of Americans are embracing a marriage trend called living apart together, LAT, where spouses live in separate households but stay in a relationship with each other. So basically, again, she gets access to your resources, but she doesn't have to sleep with you. She doesn't have to be around you. She doesn't have to talk to you. Like what point? Tell me what men get out of this at all. Guys, do you feel lonely? Do you feel like they're...
Let's get this right. So if a woman was talking in the past, she was told to shut her mouth and keep her thoughts to herself. Men didn't want to hear it. Now this man is saying they want to hear it. They want to hear what she has to say. They want her to speak to him. When in the past, they didn't want women speaking to them. This is really funny to me. I'm going to be honest.
No one in your life? Get yourself a wife today that will also not be in your life. But when she finally meets somebody else or gets tired of cheating on you behind your back while she's at her own house and leaves you for the gym coach, she'll take half your stuff when she goes. Couples choose this arrangement for a variety of reasons.
So I just recently went through something where I had a limo take me from the Midwest where I was at to my daughter's house, and this man proceeded to almost get in a car accident. Complained, taking his hands off the steering wheel, in a fit of rage, talking about his ex-wife leaving for the karaoke guy, and I'm in the car basically being abused because I'm the passenger, a paying passenger, and I have this man literally turning around, not keeping his eye on the steering wheel, the road, or anything, keeping his hands on the steering wheel and looking back at me and complaining about his ex-wife and just in a total fit of anger. Does a woman want to be married to a man like that? Just wondering, like, where do you guys get off thinking that that's okay? That shit's not okay. Let's continue.
But the New York Times claimed the trend was primarily driven by women. Shocking. Seeking independence and personal space to have time for their own interests and fulfillment. So, honey, I don't even want to be around you. This is peak selfishness. Congratulations, ladies. The bug may have played a role in this increase because gender disparities, blah, 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 marriage became more pronounced, especially for mothers. How dare mothers not have the freedom to do whatever they want? How dare you? How dare you? Let me find it. Let me find it. How dare you? Nearly 4 million.
So in the past, it was okay for men to be selfish with their time, selfish with their resources, where they would just dole out just the most minute amounts of money for women to take care of the house, take care of the kids, while they went out, like I said, golfing, boat riding, doing whatever they wanted with their friends. And these men didn't take a care in the world, didn't spend really a dime on their wives and their children while they, did whatever they want. That's not selfish. That's not selfish.
Married Americans live alone, according to data from the Census Bureau. That number does not include couples. That number does not include couples, does include married individuals who are forced to live apart due to being in the military. However, Americans seeking this arrangement have skyrocketed by more than 25% between 2000 and 2019, according to the same data. Okay, let's put a pin in this and talk about this. Number one, those of you in the military, which I was for 4 years, what is the percentage of divorces that happen or marriages that fall apart because she meets a Jody? Because she steps out behind the guy's back, either starts.
So he didn't even touch on this. Okay, so let's do some real research, right? Let's really break this down. The reason why the majority of women are divorcing men in the military, and I'm not knocking the men who have witnessed some really ill things in warfare and it's affected their mental state. I'm not downing them at all, but he's not actually speaking the truth when it comes to the divorce rate in the military. It says in 43% of the veteran couples in one study, men reported abusive behavior towards their partners. That's 43% who actually were getting help. What about the percentage of men who never got help, who the women never ever said that they were getting beaten from PTSD? It says 55% of the military couples dealing with PTSD reported some kind of physical altercation at some point in their relationship. Anywhere from 15 to 60% of veterans have abused their partners. So while he's saying let's put a pin in that, let's put a pin in this. And then he speaks about police officers. It's the same situation with police officers. What police officers deal with on a daily basis out on the streets and stuff, when they come home, when they have PTSD, they tend to snap on their spouse. So when he's talking about women filing for divorce when it comes to military and police officers, well, a lot of it has to do with physical domestic violence. Let's continue.
Dating somebody else, leaves the guy when he's overseas. You get the Dear John letter. That's only been a thing since 1773. Or it's just you guys grow apart. It's astronomical. The numbers are extremely high. Military and police get divorced more than anybody else. And also, let's be fair around this. They say skyrocketed up 25%. Well, remember, if only 1% of Americans are doing this and it skyrockets by 25%, that only means 1.25% of Americans are doing it. So if you take out the military individuals, I don't know how trendy this actually is. But of course, the media wants to pump it up like it's actually a great idea because women get their independence and they get access to your resources. Woman says, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a farmer. I don't know where I fit. Connie Ordway, who's been married to her husband Jeff for 18 years, recalled before she got her own place. The paper said Ordway hailed the arrangement as helping her remember who I am by myself, remember what I like doing by myself, and that was a lovely gift. Now, those of you guys that are dating or are married know that a lot of times the woman will come to look to you for entertainment. She says, I'm bored, let's do something. You might not be bored. You might be doing something you love. You might be doing your own activity. Doesn't matter. Stop what you're doing and entertain me, is basically what they say.
On a personal level, my grandmother, and she's been passed away. I was maybe 4 years old when my grandmother, maybe five, 4 or 5, when my grandmother passed away. But what I always remembered was my grandpa and my grandmother didn't live together. My grandmother had nine children with my grandpa, okay? And I never understood until I became an adult why we went to go visit grandpa in one house and we went to go visit grandma in another house. Well, the reason why that was, and my grandpa was super sweet to his grandkids. He was a really nice person to his grandkids and his great grandkids. However, he was abusive to my grandmother and he was abusive to his kids. And when my grandmother, when all the kids were raised, she finally divorced, or they got divorced. And my grandmother had been a homemaker. She stayed home. This is what type of grandmother I had, okay? This is the type of grandmother, or the mother they're talking about women need to be. She would garden while she was pregnant. She had twins. I had my aunt and uncle. There were twins. She was 4'11", and she push plowed through the garden to make sure that the food that grew up in the garden could be canned for the wintertime, so that her 9 children and her husband had food to eat during the winter. Not only did she do that, but she also cared for, they used to buy one pig and they would butcher that pig right before the winter time so that they had meat, pork meat, to eat throughout the winter time in the cold months in the snow in Missouri. And they also had a cow that had to be milked. So not only did she give birth at home, right, for the 9 children by herself, not only did she do all that, but she cooked, she cleaned, she canned food, prepped food for the winter time, and took care of 9 children when my grandpa did construction and he was out of the house. Okay? And when he came home, he would beat her because he was stressed out from the world's woes, which is what happens to a lot of women. So is it a shock to these men that these women want to have a peaceful life aside or away from them? It's not a shock to me. And my dad told me that he was in the military, and he would send my grandmother, his mother, the money to support her when she was divorced from my grandfather. Because my grandfather didn't support her after they got divorced. He didn't pay anything to her. She left the house that she raised all her kids in. He got to keep the house, and she had to move to a rental house. Let's continue.
Well, now the women are like, nah, you don't have to stop what you're doing to entertain me. I'll entertain myself elsewhere. And again, we usually know this also means with somebody else. Other media outlets suggest LAT could be a healthy way for some married couples to live.
Also, my grandmother never remarried. My grandmother was never with another man. She only had my grandfather. That's the only man she was with. And she had 9 children with him. So all of this shit is bullshit. This stuff these men are talking about, as if it would be a bad thing for a woman to find another man and be happy with him, content with him, and want to have sex with him, because he's not providing her with what she needs emotionally, spiritually, physically, whatever the case may be.
Praised the idea as a more romantic than living together and the secret to a long and happy and healthy marriage for some couples. The Guardian columnist Emma Brox suggested this situation could be a win-win for both spouses. Where's the win for men? I mean, yes, you get to be left alone, but last I checked, I get to be left alone all the time. My dog asks very little from me. But you do lose access to what primarily men want in a relationship, which is sex and partnership. That's literally the only reasons men have to get married. And most of the time they find out the sex and the partnership's not worth it in the first place. For Evian.
Ditto. Women feel the same way. The sex and oh my god. These dudes are really they have no self checking. Like clearly, I mean, does this guy think he's King Don Juan with the dong with the ding dong that is just magical? Like, does he think that? Clearly, the women don't want to have sex with him. They're not satisfied. But she's supposed to stick with him so he can be satisfied with her, but she don't have to be satisfied with him.
Whitney, 35, and Jonathan Meade, 37, a queer couple. Shocking. Living apart helped challenge heteronormative scripts, the reporter stated. It made caring for myself and really putting my own pleasure and my needs first, so it made it much easier. Mix MX Whitney told the paper. Of course it did. God forbid you have to actually be around somebody else. Just live in the pod, eat the bugs, spend all your time, on virtual reality. Do not have human contact with other people, especially your spouse. Another couple told ABC's Good Morning America that doing everything together while married made them crave independence. Well, then don't do everything together. My mother and father were married 50 some odd years. My dad would go out in the garage and work on the car, wash the car, mow the lawn, do some of his hobbies in the garage, which was usually tinkering with something. My mother knits. She watches soap operas. She would do other things around the house. She has a little iPad that she will play like Scrabble and other brain games on. I mean, she's 75, so, but she's done that for the last 10 years or so. You don't have to do it. But see, again, this is what everybody assumes, that marriage, you have to be locked at the hips. For 8 months, Santa and Adnan Akhand lived apart after Santa admitted she missed the autonomy of single life but still wanted to stay married. Living apart gave them the best of both worlds until they got divorced and she took all his crap. Two of the couples in these reports ended up moving back in together for various reasons. She couldn't pay her bills, and
notice he interjected his own thoughts on that last statement. Until they got divorced and she took all his crap. That was his thoughts. Not to mention that if you've been in a marriage for 10, 15 plus years, she didn't earn any of that. She didn't earn any of that when she was staying home taking care of kids. She doesn't deserve anything. These dudes.
More than likely had to come back home. That's just a guess. Focus on the Family's vice president on marriage issues, Greg Smalley, said he'd seen some couples benefit from living apart. However, he had doubts it is a viable arrangement for most couples in the long term. Smalley saw the heart of the matter as understanding the underlying reason why one partner wants to live alone. It seems the motivating factor behind these arrangements was one person not feeling well cared for, which he called a sad reality. That's probably usually the man. I'm just guessing again, but, well, actually, women, you could do everything for a lot of women and they don't feel like they're well cared for. And you can do nothing for a man and he's fine in many instances.
Again, he has no self-awareness. Oh, these dudes. Oh, my God.
Now, again, that's just me. I'm not saying all you guys are out like that out there, but Smalley stressed how important it was for each person to be able to take care of themselves in a marriage, or resentment can build, etc., etc. So what's my takeaway? Well, guys, let's say you're dating a woman. Let's say you're dating a woman and you really like her and you enjoy spending time with her. The bedroom activity meets your needs. Everything is great. Would you rather come home to an entire apartment or house that's 100% yours, where she doesn't?
Notice he only says when he only refers back to bedroom needs meeting his needs. Never does he ever say, how can I meet your needs as well? He never says that. And he talks about women being selfish, but these dudes are all about being selfish. He doesn't care whether his wife is ever satisfied. with his little two-inch dick.
Decorate and you don't have pink doilies and I don't know what women glass figurines, whatever it is they put around that annoys everybody. I don't know. I don't live with a woman. Would you rather come home to your own place and whenever you want to see each other, you go over, you sleep with her, you take her out to dinner, you have a date, and then you go back home? Or would you want to live in a house with a woman where she probably regularly denies you for sex, but does want to decorate the house in her own way, and you end up in a man cave? I don't know about you, but the whole thing at this point is basically what they're saying is stay single. Don't bother, date if you want to. Don't bother getting married. Everything that was good in marriage that once was for men, they continue to try to take away, and there is literally nothing left for men in a marriage except for the divorce. And
Do you see that? He doesn't care whether a woman is satisfied equally in the marriage with him. He only cares whether he's satisfied. And this is where I say a big old fuck you. That's what you get. That's what you deserve, you selfish bastard.